I guess this is my first time I'm doing this, but I said I would do it, and I've been quite excited for it. So this will start my Basho reviews. Bashos are 15 days. Each fighter fights 15 times, at least in the top two divisions, but we'll get there. So 1/3 of the way through, we tend to be able to start to get a sense of who's doing well, who's not doing well. And you don't know who's going to win, but you'll know who can't win at this point. So yeah, this is the July Basho in the Dolphin Arena, and I'll also give a little bit of wrestler history with each one. So first, I'm going to do a larger sumo breakdown, but for this video to make any sense, I'll need to go over some ranks. I don't have people listed in terms of their rank, but I have them listed in terms of the score they have at the moment in this Basho. Rank will change after the end of the Basho. So the first, we're going to do ranks from lowest to highest. I have them listed here, highest to lowest, to keep that kind of pyramid shape. But at the bottom is the second division. This is called Juryo, and I don't watch it much unless I'm really feeling it. But you need to know that that's second division, mostly because I'll be referencing it sometimes for people who are at the lower end of the top division, Maegashira. Everything is in Maegashira. This is the top division. These are the best of the best. Generally around 30 people. I forget the exact number though. I think it's 32 or something. But these are the people doing well. So Maegashira is a big group of people, and if you consistently do very well in Maegashira, then the top 4 or 5 people will become Sekiwake. This just means you're the top 4 or 5 in Maegashira. When you're Sekiwake, now what happens is if you get around 33 wins over 3 Basho, so going 11 out of 15 3 times in a row, or it can be like 12, 10, then 11, something like that, you get promoted to Ozeki. There's generally around 2, 3, sometimes 4 Ozeki happening at once. And when you're Ozeki, it means you can lose once without losing your rank. Anyone in Sekiwake, if they lose, they get booted out of Sekiwake, then they have to try to go again, and that's lose at the end of a Basho. A negative score, it's not one fight. Oh, dang it, I already get lost in the sauce. But yeah, so once you're Sekiwake, 33 wins over 3 Basho, or maybe 32 with good sumo spirit, will get you promoted to Ozeki. Ozeki get much better benefits, but they're also very much expected to perform, and if you're not performing well, you will just get ragged on. Once you're Ozeki, if you win 2 Basho back-to-back, or do exceedingly well, generally going 13-2 or better for 3 Basho back-to-back, then you'll get promoted to Yokozuna. Yokozuna is a rank that is, one, you sort of become a face of Japan in a way. You are the best athlete for their natural sport. And what it generally means is when you are fighting, you're expected to win the whole thing. You are that good. You can just stomp out some of the best people in the world without much effort. I think there's generally 1 Yokozuna, rarely there's 2, and there was a golden moment somewhere back there where there were 3 at once, and it was just insane. There goes my phone. Ugh. Yeah, just an insane little moment in sumo history. So with those ranks, we shall get started with Wakataka Kage. So this will be 0 wins, 0 losses, 5 absences. This will continue on. He was a Sekiwake, so in the 3rd highest position, trying to make Ozeki, and in the process, he blew out his knee. He was a medium-sized wrestler, very muscular, and had some cool strategies going where he would try to go to someone's left side, pin their arm to render the other fighter less mobile, and then try to push them around that way. He was doing pretty well, but now he needs to go through a knee repair, so he'll be back. Maybe not next Basho, maybe the one after, but sumo wrestlers generally don't treat their injuries that well. Next up is Taka Keisho, who is an Ozeki. He is the lone Ozeki right now. Actually, no, wait, one just got promoted up last Basho. I got lost. He is out. So this Basho is exceedingly hot in Japan. Taka Keisho, you can see, he's very short, but a big fella. And he does not perform well in these conditions. He's pretty young, I think 28, kind of entering that prime era of 28 to 32. He's done exceedingly well so far, but he usually goes 2 or 3 Basho and then will get some form of injury, and then he kind of repeats that process. He, as Ozeki, has been here for a while. He'll get up to very close to Yokozuna. I think he almost made Yokozuna a couple Basho ago, but instead of getting 13-2, he got 12-3, so he did not make that promotion, which was a little sad to see. Some people thought he might, because, actually we're not there yet. Some people thought he might for a variety of reasons. He's a very good face for the sport. People love him. He wears lipstick sometimes to make his lips look red, which is funny. That's just a little side note, but yeah, he performs very well. Now we'll hit the people who have no absences. First up is Takano Sho. So Takano Sho he used to be a really solid wrestler, and he injured one of his knees. I think it was a ligament tear, and he actually never got it repaired so that he could keep fighting. So he's still overall pretty solid, but he doesn't have the edge he used to, where when push comes to shove, his legs are just a bit weaker. Next up, we will do Mitake Umi. He is from the Philippines, and he was doing extremely well for a long time. And what he did for years, I think, was he would go like 11 wins and then 10 or 12 wins, almost make Ozeki, and then get 9 wins, and it would all fall apart. And then he would do the same thing again, and he strung that on for like 2 years, finally made Ozeki, and then in his first Basho as Ozeki, injured his shoulder, and his shoulder was kind of a main part of his toolkit, so now he's kind of been struggling with that. He's lost his Ozeki status, and it seems like when he'll grab a belt to fight, and when he grabs that, he can't quite drive the same way he used to. So I hope he figures it out and starts getting back to his form, but I don't think he got anything fixed, and it's pretty clearly tough for him, though every now and then he does show the brilliance and just have an extremely explosive match, which is great to see when he does get there. Next up is Bushozan. He's been at it for a long time, just slowly working his way up the ranks. He's hit top division once before, and then went back down to second division, and then he's kind of bouncing between those two, so this is the reason I touched on Judio or second division, is he's really good for Judio, makes it to the top there, and then gets bumped into the top division Maegashira. But what happens then is instead of facing everyone below him in Judio, he starts facing everyone above him in Maegashira, and he's not that good. So then he goes back down, and then bumps back up, and then goes back down, and then bumps back up. And he's kind of in that loop right now, so we kind of have to see, does he get more consistent, make that leap of becoming a better athlete, or not? And then Ryuden. He's been at it for quite a while, just kind of chilling around in the middle top division or so. And then he got suspended, I think, for gambling. One of two people to get suspended for that at that time. He was booted for like a year and a half or something, quite a long time. Got demoted all the way down in that process because it counts as going 0-15 if you don't show up. And he's not doing too hot at 1-4. He had a great streak to get right back up, and then just has been losing ever since. I'm not sure if he's injured, but he's not doing too hot. I'll say that much. So yeah, we just kind of have to see where he balances out. I expect to see him in top division because he's generally pretty solid, but he's kind of been flopping all over the place recently. Next up is Daishoho. He had a good top division run in 2019 and then fell back down, and kind of COVID years just hovered, and he seems to be back in the top division right now. Looking at his score, he's not doing too hot, but often when people make the jump to top division, they kind of stumble and then recover. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes for him. Tsurugisho, this is I like this guy. He's huge. I think in this picture he's wearing a brown Moashi as belt, but usually he goes in with a black belt, and it looks awesome. And he generally just sits in low top division, low Maegashira, and occasionally he'll drop to second division and then make his way right back up, because he's better than the guys below there. Next up is Sedanoumi. He's in top division and has been there for a long time, and he's just kind of starting to get old. His age is starting to show, and I think he's just kind of kicking in there, A, for love of the game, and B, to, bring out whatever money he can before his ultimate retirement. Hirarumi. This guy is widely loved because he manages to be both small and extremely round. A lot of guys are kind of small and lanky or small and muscular, and then some of the big guys get really round. But he is both small and round. People are a big fan of him for that. He's really young. And yeah, he's new to top division, so he's finding his footing, seeing where he's going to end up. And I really like rooting for him. Yeah. Onosho has been in the top division for a decent while. He had just a rocket rise from 2017 to 2018, and then got injured, fell back down, and then came back. And he generally does really well, sitting in the upper end of Maegashira, not quite Sekiwake, but he just in the top, say, quarter, I'll go with. Though this has not been the strongest start for him. Next up is Midori Fuji, and he's very young and kind of shot up really quick. And overall, he's doing very well, so this might be one of those stumbles. We'll see what happens with him. And yeah, Kirishima. So that's the guy standing here. He was a Sekiwake for the last 3 or 4 Basho, and then made that 33 win cutoff, got promoted to Ozeki, but that amount of wins is very taxing on the body to A, get that good, maintain it, and then fight 15 days back to back, winning it all. So he had kind of some form of aggravation, minor injury pop in. So he missed the first few days. So one of his losses is from the first day, just when he didn't show up. So he's kind of 1-1 and 3. He had a great win where he was put into a lock. Someone had his arm and he just managed to bend and slip his arm out. It looked a little scary to me, but he pulled it off. He's a new Ozeki, so I'm hoping he does very well. Ozeki almost always get injured once early, so he's kind of getting that out of the way. And thinking of comes our Yokozuna, the white belt. This is Teruno Fuji. He won once, and then in his second fight with Ura, who we'll get to later, it was a very tough, kind of long battle. And as you can see, his knees are bandaged. He blew out both his knees years ago, came back. He was Ozeki, blew out both his knees, fell to the bottom division, way lower than second division, worked his way back up, made Yokozuna, blew out both his knees again, and he has been out for the last four Basho, won the last one 14-1, and then his knees are not looking too hot. He is incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, and incredibly stable, but everyone's just kind of knows the day of the knees is coming. And when that happens, he's just going to retire, and it kind of looks like it just happened. You don't get this many surgeries on your knees without it just being Jover. But next up is Teres Grandes. I actually got a picture of his boobs at half size just for you guys because I figured it would be good. It's an older picture. He is an older guy, 36 or 37 at this point. And yeah, he's just kind of an old head hanging in there for the money or for the love of the game, doing what he does. He generally slowly falls down a couple ranks at a time, and then when he's at the very bottom of the division, he'll rack up a bunch of wins and then slowly work his way down. He was similar to, for the people that know, Toshinoshin, who has retired recently, was doing the same thing for quite a few years. And yeah, he has massive tits. Just huge. It's insane to look at. There's a picture of Ura going like this, just burying his face in it, kind of like his Fight Club. I thought about putting that, but it didn't show Aoyama too much. Koto Shoho, 2 and 3. He is very young, and overall he's doing okay. He's just had his rise over the last year to get into the top division, and he's starting to have his stumble about in the upper third to upper half of the top division. Seems to be where he's settled. When he goes below that, he tends to do fairly well. When he goes above that, he tends to not do too well. So he's very young. I think he's 23. So there's still jumps to be made in terms of his athleticism and his strength and all of that. So we'll just kind of have to see where he lands over the next few years. Chiyo Shoma he's not old, but he's starting to get old. He chills middle of top division. I haven't paid the most attention to him. He wins some, he loses some, just kind of doing his thing. Myogiryu he's getting old. He's been in the top division forever and generally also sits in the mid-top division. Especially for some of the older guys that, like I said, Aoyama will sit in the lower top division because he's really starting to get some wear and tear. But some of the guys that are still doing pretty good will, put up a good fight. Going back to some young guys, we have Oho. This image, I swear, was much crisper before, but such is life. He's young, blew up into the top division, and then I think in mid-top division he went 11-4, did really well, and then the next Basho went 4-11, so that was his first stumble. And we're kind of seeing where he's going to recover to. He's had a couple tough Basho, a couple really good Basho, so I'm thinking it might also be something with nerves. There's also, it's 15 back-to-back days of fighting. Learning how to do that is very big, so he tends to fall off near the end of the second week, and he'll just get a bunch of losses in a row. So as he works on that, he'll probably start doing better and better. He seemed to have an injury, but I don't think it was major, and he seems to be recovering well. Meisei is a pretty small guy and generally does fairly well. And he recently, I think, last Basho, Terunofuji the Yokozuna, won 14-1. His loss was to Meisei. And Meisei seems to really be, he's not absolutely acing everything, but he seems to be able to get some good snipes on some of the really like of some of the big dogs. He's getting off the porch, dare I say. So that's always fun to see. Shodai, this is Shodai once he gets his 8 wins. He used to be an Ozeki not that long ago. And what he would do as Ozeki, you need to. I should have explained this earlier. You can't have a negative score 2 Basho in a row. There's 15 days, so 8 and 7 is a positive score, 7 and 8 is a negative score. You either win or you lose, there's no draws. Shodai would get like 9 wins one Basho, and then get like 3 the next, and then get 8 wins the next, and like keep his Ozeki status, and then get 5 the next. And then it would be up for like, he would almost lose it again, and then he'd get like 10 wins, or like 12, and it would be great for him, and then he'd get like 2 the next Basho. And it was incredibly infuriating because Ozeki are supposed to be really good, and he was he was not doing too hot. He was doing the minimum possible. So it was almost like a flaw of the system. So when I need to lift my chair. When Shodai dials in and really focuses in a match, he is absurdly good. You'll see him go up to people and just like some of the best out there and just rock them out of the ring without any effort. And then the next time he'll have a weaker opponent and he'll just fall down. It's kind of strange. And he is infamous for sniping titles from other people. And I don't mean sniping as in winning it for himself, but someone will be doing incredibly well, and Shodai will be going like 3 wins and 8 losses, and then just rip that person off the stage, give them another loss, kill their chances of getting a title, and then proceed to go on to lose the rest of the Basho himself, which is hysterical and would drive people insane. Tobizaru, this guy, his name is the Flying Monkey. So he's generally really fun to watch. He has this interesting style where he goes up kind of like this into people's faces, like sets up certain ways and then does funky things. And yeah, his style is pretty inconsistent, I'll say, but that's the fun of it. He is really good. He generally sits at the top of the top division. Not quite Sekiwake, but, you know, still up there. And it's just a blast. He's known for when he loses a match, he'll just go flying. Like, there's just videos of him flipping off of the dojo. He'll, like, lose his balance, just sprint off into the crowd and just take 30 seconds trying to walk back between people. But also his like inconsistent and really tricky style means that he can go up to people who are doing really well, and he's a big wild card where you can always lose to him. You can push one way that is a very solid move, and he'll just have some way to turn it into, like, he'll throw himself off balance, and as he's falling, he'll find a way to pull you down faster, or something like that. Hakuoho Ochiai, previously, he changed his name for this Basho. He is 19 years old, and so good, and so good. In the second division, he went 14-1 last time. Just absolutely smoking everyone, and he's doing pretty good up here too. Well, he's off to a 3-2 start, so I won't say it's like awesome, but this guy's practically a baby. It's his 3rd Basho. It's his 3rd time fighting, and he's already in the top division. Just absolutely ridiculous. I think this is only done, that 3rd Basho in the top division was done by another guy, Endo, who we'll get to later. But generally a lot of people are watching him and just kind of saying if he manages to stay relatively uninjured, he might just slaughter the game. Like Yokozuna at 22 kind of thing, and just kill everyone for a decade. But we'll have to see how his training goes. So if you're going to be rooting for someone, root for this guy. Because, yeah, he's just the youngest to the game and just a big rising star. Thinking of the flip side, we have Takada Fuji, who's I think 37 now. He is an old guy, and I think right now he has the most top division fights in the top division. He's generally known for being very solid. He has the nickname of the Brick Wall, and he absolutely just tanked last year. Like, just three double-digit losses in a row, but he seems to have recovered from whatever that was, and we're just going to see how he moves forward from here, though, he's not making it to the stars, but he can still hold on. Koto Echo, I called this guy based in one of my write-ups. He has never gotten that high. Usually people will make it up to, oh shit, I didn't tell you one of the Komusubi. Sekiwake, or like the very top there, and then they'll kind of bounce back to where their skill level is. This guy, never been up there. Chills right in the middle of the top division. Always wins some, always loses just as many. He's what was it? He's always entertaining. His fights are a blast. He has a lot of energy. He looks older than he is. Yeah, love Koto Echo. Love Koto Echo. Next up will be Kinbozan. He is new to the top division, also a pretty new wrestler, but also 26, so he's just started a little later than some other guys. He similarly made it up to the top division. His first Basho in the top division, he got 11-4 and won a special prize for coming like third place or something like that. He just did extremely well, had a huge stretch of just straight wins. And then in the next tournament, he got promoted up to mid of the high level and then kind of stumbled, had a bad Basho, and now he has to see how he can bounce back. And we're in that first Basho after the stumble, seeing how he bounces back. I'm excited for this guy. I got my eye on him. And yeah, Nishiki Fuji, pretty young, just got to the top division. And he's seems to do pretty good, but he's in kind of a continued stumble where he'll do really good, then really bad, then really good, and then really bad. So he's yet to find the balance out, but it seems like he's not quite a top dog right now. But again, these guys are young, so they can all just have one Basho change their life, and they just go and win for like 2 years after that. Which brings us to another young guy, Hokuseiho. This is also a little blurrier than I remember. And why do they look like miniatures? This guy is 204 centimeters tall. He is a giant. I saw one fight where, one sec, a guy was posted up against his chest, and this guy just stood up, reached over the guy's head, grabbed his belt from behind, and lifted him out, which was insanely disrespectful and a move you just don't see because no one's that tall. So he's 21, question mark, maybe 22. And yeah, just a giant. He's never had a losing score yet and is still not losing, but he's just starting to get to the top ranks. So we'll have to see if he stumbles or whether he manages to find his consistency and strength and just continues moving his way up. Thinking of stumbling, oh, we're missing one. Oh. 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 Ura. Ura is the pink belt, and he is very notable for being an absolute blast to watch. He's a huge fan favorite. The ladies love him. He's bulbous. He's short. He pulls off the weirdest frickin' moves, like this throw that you saw earlier. I'm pretty sure this is the one. He won this. What he did was, instead of fighting someone and trying to throw them himself, he put them behind his back and then jumped on top of them, putting the enemy down just before he managed to fall. He had one against Teruno Fuji where he was fully extended with it, like his toes on the ground and just holding on to the belt, doing like an overhead plank, trying to win a fight. He didn't win that one, but it was absolutely hysterical. So yeah, Ura, always good to watch. Can I, no? Where do I start from? Oh, good, we're back. So yeah, Ura's great. He generally sits at the top of the top division, but because of all his tricks, which make him so fun, it also gives him some inconsistency. His diet at one point, he just had meals that consisted of eating like 8 Big Macs. There's a little piece of lore. But he's hitting 32, 33. He's had a couple knee injuries in the past. So we're going to have to see how his body holds up. He's definitely leveled out his sumo style recently to be a little more or a little less insane than it used to be. But he's still a blast to watch. Um, Asanayama was also suspended for gambling, but he was an Ozeki at the time. So he was kind of he has more or less everything in his toolkit. He's incredibly solid and can do anything. So he was widely regarded as being the next up to be Yokozuna, but then he got suspended. So right now he is just on his rise all the way back up to where he belongs. He's probably going to end up at least at Ozeki or something unless something big happens. But also the suspension pushed him from like 30 years old to 32 years old at that level, which means we'll have to see how he can perform with a few more years under his belt, which is not necessarily easy. Kota no Waka is another young guy. We talked about Koto Shoho earlier, who kind of has hit his immediate wall and bounced back. Koto no Waka made it all the way to Sekiwake, and then he isn't losing, but he stopped getting the insanely high scores that he got there with. So we're going to have to see. He's a young guy. Can he buff that up and push to the next level, make Ozeki? Or is he just kind of going to chill in that upper Maegashira level? So yeah, he's doing very well, but we have to see if he makes kind of another athletic jump to just like another kind of maturing point where he manages to refine his sumo style and yeah, take it to the next level. Abi was also suspended during COVID. I forget exactly why. This guy might have also been in the gambling. I think there were two of them gambling, so I've lied about one of these guys, but such is life. Oh, Asano Yama, I think it was. He wasn't for gambling. He was going out to a mistress bar, which was there's some drama there. It was actually sanctioned by his coach or something. His coach was fine with it, and then it went back, and his coach was like, "Oh, I totally never said you could do that. That's awkward and embarrassing." So yeah, Abi was part of a gambling thing, and he has freakishly long limbs. So like you see here, what he does is he goes on his toes and reaches out like this with his arms and just hits people in the face and just keeps on doing it. And if the person starts to lean back and gets pushed to the edge of the ring, he'll immediately flip and start pulling the enemy towards him, which will then make the enemy trip forwards because they're trying to resist all the pushing. He does the same thing almost every time, and it just keeps working. He's extremely tricky to fight with extremely volatile results. So whenever there's someone I'm rooting for and they go up against Abby, there's just this anxiety of will they get caught by one grip and it's just they're dead. They're like living the freakishly long like end of the freakishly long limbs and just kind of trying to survive it, or will they find a way to duck around it and get through? But you never know. The amount of anxiety I get from my buddies fighting or my boys fighting this guy is just ridiculous. Wakamoto Haru, we talked about Wakataka Kage at the start of this, who hurt his knee, who was in Sekiwake aiming for Ozeki promotion. This is his brother, I believe, and he chilled in the lower divisions for a really long time. And then he's Wakataka's older brother. Wakataka Kage joined Sumo, shot up past him, and then this guy immediately caught up. Wakataka got injured, and now this guy's on an Ozeki run. So I think he has 11 wins and 12 wins for the last two Basho or something. So if he makes 10 or 11 wins, he should get to Ozeki, but I forget the exact numbers. But that's what he's up for right now. So that would be pretty cool if he manages to make it. I'm really rooting for him. I think he would be great. Him and Kirishima, who is the new Ozeki, they look similar, have kind of similar proportions, and I would love to have them go in like a head-to-head as Ozeki. See how they compete. Yeah, he's awesome. Uh, earlier I'm missing another one. Endo. All right, we're going in. Yeah, you can see this shit. This is Endo. This is the picture I used for him. He also made it to the top division in only 3 Basho. I think it was like 6 to 8 years ago, maybe. I forget how many years ago it was. He was just kind of the rising star, immediately shot to the top, and then I think got bogged down by some injuries, but still overall does pretty well. Has to find more of his footing though if he wants to kind of make it back to that. Shonanumi is this is not a young guy. This might be the wrong Shonanumi. Um, Alright, we're just gonna deal with that. A lot of sumo wrestlers will be named after their stable master or something like that. We'll get into that whole dynamic at another time. And I believe this guy inherited a name, and I accidentally, seeing it from a distance, put a picture of a different Shonanumi. So there you go. But Shonanumi is pretty young and just starting it in the top division. 4-1, good start. Love to see it. Hokuto. Are you? What's happened, bros? Hokuto Fuji. Hokuto Fuji is an incredibly explosive wrestler in the top division. I think last year, I think it was 8 months ago, he went 10-0 right off the start of something. But generally is not like the best of the best. He does pretty well though. I always root for him right off of the start. He always just rips straight into the other guy. So I love to see that. And yeah, tends to sit at like the lower end of upper top division, and does very well. And slightly balding as well, but a young guy still, pretty young. So that's a little tidbit. I thought at first I was like, oh, he's kind of balding. He's probably like in his 30s or something. No. And yeah, so now I always root for him because I can't like you can't disrespect someone like that and then not root for them after. It would just be rude. Um, Anyways, we're coming back to Tamawashi. This guy is the oldest. He is 38 years old and has not missed a single fight since 2004. He won a Basho last year. He won. He's getting better. He is extremely solid. He's one of my favorites. There was something he did in the middle of his career. He had a certain move that would injure people's biceps. There's some drama from back in the day, but he stopped doing that. And what he does, like you can see here, is he tries to get a hand on someone's neck and then just like shove through them and try to manipulate them that way. And if he can get that, it is deadly. He's been doing it for 20 years. He knows how to do it extremely well. Someone who hasn't been doing it for 20 years, but is in fact just barely over 20 years old, is Hoshoryu. He is very young and went straight to the top, and he made it to Sekiwake, had an Ozeki run, didn't quite make it because of a ankle twist near the end of a Basho that cost him like 2 fights that prevented it, which was a shame. But he's on another Ozeki run. I think if he gets 12 or is it 13 wins this time, then he'll take it home. He's lost once, but overall he looks to be in great form. Little tidbits of information about him. You'll notice he's wearing glasses here. He's blind. He's not blind, but he's blind. He cannot see. So you'll always see him squinting when he's about to fight, which makes him look kind of like he's really angry, but he just can't see. He wears a orange mawashi. He's an expert thrower. He has some of the most insane throws out there. And he is the nephew of Asashoryu, who is widely regarded to be one of the two greatest sumo wrestlers of all time, or at least in the modern era, alongside Hakuho, who retired last year. Daisho. Daisho is a pusher thruster. He goes like this and just kind of keeps on going there, and he's really freaking good at it. He's on an Ozeki run as well. If he gets, I think, 11 wins, or it might even be 10 wins this Basho, he's making it to Ozeki most likely. He has a good image, so yeah, I believe he can. He's a very good fighter, sticks to his one style, doesn't really change that, but he's so good at it that, he stays winning. Um, that same style is used by the Ozeki Taka Keisho often, or at least something similar, and they're generally the two best. So when they go head to head, it's always interesting. And yeah, Gonoyama, Ochiai slash Hakuoho, who we talked about earlier, the 19-year-old star, went 14-1 last time in second division, and because of that, did not take the title. Who was the loss to? Gonoyama. He is also very new and fresh to the top division, doing well, and he's putting on a really good show. So I'm really excited to see how those two fight more often because both of their fights were very entertaining. And yeah, I'm very interested to see on how high they go as well. Thinking of Takayasu, or as Reddit called them back in the day, Redditors called him Papa Yasu. Uh, um, yeah, he's starting to get old. He's a little past his prime. He's hitting like 33, something like that, which kind of means the clock is, it's not ticking, but you got your eyes on it. And he used to be an Ozeki, and he has never won a Yusho. He's never won a Basho. Uh, Same thing for those two terms. He has come second place, I believe, 8 times, which is insane. So I think instead of gunning for higher ranks or anything right now, he's trying to preserve his body and get a win. My theory is that there's a strat where he gets to the middle of top division. At first, you fight people close to your rank. So the people at the highest will fight the best people there. And I think he wants out of that to preserve his energy so that the best people get worn out, but he'll still be fighting them. So it's like a good Yusho, a good win kind of thing. And yeah, fighting the mid division to conserve some energy first, and then going on to the top of them. So I hope it works out for him. Second place 8 times is brutal. The last time he lost, I think he like cried on the floor right there, which was a little sad. And he is really good, so I hope it works. And then Nishikigi. This guy is generally kind of a mid-top division guy, and he's like a big fella. This guy's a big fella. And he's slowly worked up to top division, generally stayed around mid, like I said, and he seems to be doing okay recently, but he's never really been in it for the title. But he has had an insane start. There are 3 people up for the Ozeki promotion, which were Daisho, Hoshoryu, and Wakamoto Haru. He has beaten all of them. So he has all of the best people in this Basho out of the way. So I generally would not put money on him winning the Basho, but like, he's in there. I would not count him out, though we'll have to see if he stumbles in the second week or not. So there's generally a quick recap on all of the wrestlers as it is right now. And also kind of the progress of the Basho. I didn't really go into the scores that much. At the end here, I'll say anyone who's 4-1 or 5-0 are kind of still in it for the title race. There's a chance that Wakamoto Haru, if he doesn't win anything else, could be in it for the title race, but it's slim because he'd have to win everything, which I think he could do. But yeah, so Shonanumi, I don't really think he's in it to win it, but he's doing really good. Tomowashi, we'll have to see. Hoshoryu's in it to win it. Daisho, in it to win it. Gonoyama, in it to win it, but he is lower, so eventually as he keeps doing well, he's going to have to fight some people who are really good, might be out of his water, just a little bit still so far. Takayasu, in it to win it. Nishikigi, we'll have to see. He's in it to win it. He's in form right now, and we're just kind of going to have to see what happens from here. So yeah, there's your update. Thank you, and I'll catch you guys again after day 10, which will give us a much better view of who is at the top, who is most likely to be up for Ozeki promotion, who is most likely going to win, because there will just be some more filtering out. And yeah, catch you guys soon.